دينا وجميع الكون لنا وطنا توحيد الله لنا نور أعددنا الروح له سكنا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters. I'm here to address the events that have taken place in Paris, in France, over the last few days. Now, Muslims have been put under the spotlight as a result of these events. But the reality is that the Muslims have been under the spotlight for quite a while now in Europe, especially in the UK and now in a lot of the European countries. But what have been the responses of some Muslims in the face of the attacks that we see on Islam today? Let's take an example in respect of the events that have occurred in Paris and this newfound war on the freedom of speech that has been, as it's been called. Let's take an example, inshallah.
I believe in freedom of speech. I believe it with all of my heart and the utmost sincerity. And I will die defending your right to say whatever you want. But I think we should perhaps limit freedom of speech to a certain extent. But nevertheless, I believe in freedom.
Looking at their response, brothers and sisters, you have to ask, what is this individual talking about? You are actually trying to argue from a basis which in of itself is alien to Islam. And we'll elaborate on this. But not only is it alien to Islam, this concept of freedom of speech that you are talking, this ideal concept about which you're talking, doesn't exist in reality. Why? Because in reality, freedom of speech translates as being civil and regulated speech towards everyone, but an absolute freedom to insult Muslims. Now, brothers and sisters, you can't walk around Germany denying the Holocaust. You can't walk around the UK doing certain things, saying certain things. Because freedom of speech has its limit, and wallahi, if we don't start understanding this selective application of it, we will be in trouble. Now, brothers and sisters, what is the problem here? The problem here is that the people who are responding in this manner, who are being held out as Islamic personalities with an Islamic response, are not giving the correct Islamic response. They are not giving the correct Islamic response. Freedom of speech is a value upon which they are attacking you. The basis by which they are attacking you is called freedom of speech. If you believe in freedom of speech, well then be quiet. You have no right to turn around and say anything when it comes to you being insulted. You have to accept their freedom to insult you. This is what freedom of speech means in of itself. I guess Muslims just need to grow up, is the concept that they wish to pass. So stop putting freedom on this pedestal as though it is some godsend that Muslims have to suddenly all adopt and adhere to, and as though it is from Islam in some warped sense. This is a value stemming from secular liberal beliefs, and it has been applied selectively by men since its very inception. And I want to give you an example of the UK. When it came to the pictures of Kate Middleton on the beach, what did the UK media do? The government was very quick to shut down the publicizing of these images. Under what pretext? They said it clearly. There isn't a freedom of speech issue here. This is a red line. You can't cross this red line. I.e., the point here for you to understand, brothers and sisters, is that this is a selectively applied value. Because it is only applied when it links to their belief. And their belief is based on benefit. If it doesn't benefit them, they're not going to apply it. And we need to understand this, brothers and sisters. And we need to really understand that there are things that we can take and things that we can't take from the kuffar. Now I want to give you an example. And inshallah, we should be reflecting on these examples regularly anyway. What are these examples? These are the examples of the Anbiya alayhi salatu wassalam. Indeed, we're very familiar with the ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ عِبْرَةٌ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. Indeed, in their stories, in the stories of the prophets, are lessons for the people of understanding. Now, if we claim to be men and women of understanding, of reason, then we need to reflect on the story of Musa alayhi salam and Bani Israel as an example in terms of this reality. What is this example? When Musa alayhi salam liberated Bani Israel, they had now, as a race, witnessed, as an ummah, they had now witnessed the miracles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala firsthand. Firsthand, they had seen Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power, His majesty in respect of His miracles. Yet, when they reached a nation, now, this is after they've been liberated from Egypt, they reached a nation and they saw this tribe, very powerful tribe, worshipping idols. They said to Musa, قالوا يا موسى اجعل لنا إلها كما لهم آلهة. They said to Musa alayhi salam, Ya Musa, oh Musa, make for us an idol like their idols. And Ibn Khaldun says, indeed, because they were weak, they had inferior understanding, they tried to imitate the stronger nation. Indeed, the weak attempt to imitate the strong. But they did not understand something, brothers and sisters. And that is that the idols, they linked and stemmed. They were something which linked to a belief and to the creed of the kuffar. The same way, brothers and sisters, that the value of freedom of speech stems and is linked intrinsically to the aqidah of secularism and liberalism. This is something, brothers and sisters, that we need to start appreciating today. That there are things that we do not take, and indeed we do not need to take from the kuffar. And these are the things which stem from their aqidah, because we have our own. And indeed this is a problem for us today, because we have become infatuated. We have become infatuated with the civilization of the kuffar and their beliefs and their values, and indeed we have latched onto these. But we need to understand, brothers and sisters, and remove this Western cultural lens by which we are viewing and responding to attacks on Islam from our eyes, and replace it with the Islamic cultural lens in terms of how we address issues. Now you know who you are. If you are of those who state, I will die to protect your freedom, and I believe in freedom of speech. But understand that this is not the Islamic response to this issue. We don't need, and we need not succumb to a value which stems from a bankrupt ideology and essentially allows you to go around gratuitously insulting individuals without any regard for the causing of offense, for the breakdown of societal harmony. Musa alayhi salam had a superior value. And therefore, what did he say to Bani Israel? Look at his response. He said, why should I give you anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as an ilah, when He has given you superiority over Al-Alameen. Why would you need anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as an ilah, as a thing to worship, when He has given you superiority over all of mankind and jinn? And this superiority wasn't in the sense of some genetic makeup of Bani Israel, that they were special or something. No. What was superior? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had made them superior. The superior thing that was given to Bani Israel, i.e. the deen of Islam, the values that stem from the aqidah of Islam, this is what was superior. And this is what is superior today. And we need to start calling for this, inshallah. And for those who don't want to change how they want to respond or how they are responding, I say to you, what Musa alayhi salam said to Bani Israel about those who had taken the idols as their worshippers, in the same way that you have taken the values of freedom of speech as your own, Musa alayhi salam said, indeed, those worshippers, they are destroyed in what they are doing. And indeed, everything they do is in vain. Everything they do is in vain. So we need to start understanding this, brothers and sisters, that we do not in any way need these values. We have a value. What is Islam's position in respect of speech in regards to the public? I can't walk around insulting people's prophets, or their gods, or their beliefs, or their role models. Forget that, I can't even insult you as an individual. I can't even backbite about you. This is what Islam holds as being a value. And look at how good such a value is in leading to societal harmony. It doesn't discourage academic critique and debate, sincere academic critique and debate. But what Muslims will not stand for, and what no one will stand for, is gratuitous insults to their parents, to their beliefs, to that and who they love more than their parents, who is the Prophet ﷺ and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one would accept this. Neither will Muslims. And we need to understand this, brothers and sisters. My final point is in respect of another response that we see from some brothers and sisters. It goes something like this.
What happened in France was truly very, very sad. And the sad thing is that it was done in my name and the name of my religion. And I apologize. And I condemn the actions that had taken place in France on that day. And I apologize on behalf of all of those people who adhere to my faith, because my faith is a religion of peace and tolerance.
Let's look at this response. It's shallow. It represents a defeatist mentality, brothers and sisters. And then those, you know who you are if you respond in this manner. And if you do, let me ask you a question. Why is it that you do not see an apology for Guantanamo Bay? Why is it that you do not see an apology for the PREVENT program, for the Trojan horse inspections in schools? Why is it that you do not see an apology for the arrest and removal of passports of Muslims in Britain? Why is it that you do not see an apology for the ban on the hijab and the niqab in France? Why? Because, brothers and sisters, these actions have been taken by the kuffar for whatever reason in order to safeguard their values. They stem from their belief. And anything that challenges their belief, they will address it in a manner how they see fit. And like I said, the application of concepts such as freedom and liberty is selective, and it is not to be applied to Muslims in any way. And this is a reality that you see in front of you, brothers and sisters. But I want to draw your attention to the response of the kuffar when you ask about these topics. When you ask them about Guantanamo Bay, and when you ask them about why they have done the actions that they have done and are doing, what are you faced with? An apologetic response? No. You are faced with a confident response. Why? Because they believe and are confident in the values that derive from their creed. Wallahi, it is high time that the Muslims understood this same fact and held onto the values that come and stem from the creed of Islam with confidence. And another point, brothers and sisters, as to why we need to be able to address this with confidence, and wallahi it links to how we will be able to do so, is only if we understand the context. It is only if we understand the context within which these attacks are occurring that we will be able to address them effectively. So brothers and sisters, let me give you an example of what a response in context sounds like. Looking once again at the example of Musa alayhi salam, when he went to Fir'aun and he said, "Fear Allah, let Bani Israel go." Look at the response Fir'aun gave to him. Fir'aun said to Musa alayhi salam, "Did I not raise you among us? Were you not raised among us? You came to my house in a little basket. I raised you. And you spent many years of your life with us." And then Fir'aun goes on to say, and then you committed your deed, and then you left, you fled, because you were one of the ingrates. And now, basically, Fir'aun is suggesting what? He's trying to humiliate Musa alayhi salam, to shake his confidence, to make him, trying to make Musa alayhi salam feel that as though he is not special in any way. What was the response of Musa alayhi salam? And this is very important for us, brothers and sisters. Look at what Musa alayhi salam said. He said, "When I did this deed, I was ignorant. But now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent me with knowledge and the hukum to rule over you. He sent me with the law. And this favor, you, Fir'aun, talk to me about, that you're trying to remind me about. Who the hell are you to say this when you have enslaved an entire nation?" This, brothers and sisters, is the response that we need to give. Musa alayhi salam understood. He didn't turn around and say, "Yes, Fir'aun, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you for raising me." Like, unfortunately, you see some brothers in the UK, they are grateful to the kuffar and are willing to apologize on behalf of the entire ummah somehow, just because the kuffar have built them some masajid and giving them a few grants. Musa alayhi salam understood and stated the very fact that he was only in the river of the Nile River because of the policy of Fir'aun in the region. It was because Fir'aun was executing the children of Bani Israel that Musa alayhi salam was in the river in the first place. So he said this to Fir'aun. He said, "Who are you to try to reproach me about a favor that you've done me when it was because of you that I was in the river? I wouldn't have been raised by you had you not killed my people." The same way, brothers and sisters, we would not be here had it not been for the fact that the kuffar had gone to our lands and killed our people and raped and pillaged our resources. This, brothers and sisters, is what we need to understand. We need to move away from this apologetic tone and understand and have confidence in Islam. Because we are enslaved otherwise. And what is this slavery? It is the slavery of the colonized minds that you see, who are giving this apologetic narrative, who are creating it. And who fail to realize that the attacks on the Muslims are done to shake the confidence of them. And in order to carve out a generation of secular-minded Muslims who don't hold on to the superior values of Islam. Who don't hold on to the superior values of Islam. So brothers and sisters, I say to you, let go and come out of this slavery of condemnation that you find yourself in. Brothers and sisters, you do not need to, and Islam will not ever succumb to these corrupt values that the kuffar are trying to impose upon us. Because we have a superior set of values, brothers and sisters. And it is time that we understand that we need to have confidence in the Islamic values and respond in turn, intellectually, in order to present Islam and those values as something by which society should live by. And I want to draw your attention to a simple fact, brothers and sisters, which is that these gratuitous insults on the Anbiya alayhi salatu wassalam did not occur in the time of the Khilafah. They have been taking liberties, brothers and sisters, and these insults have occurred since the collapse of the Khilafah. And let me think, and let me ask you to think, inshallah, on this point, and as to why it is the Islamic values are not the values by which the world is ruled by today. وقولي قولي هذا واستغفر الله ولكم جزاك الله خير. السلام عليكم.